kind of walk into the clearing around your homestead, where the two of you have been living for several years now, along with grandfather and your girl Sapling. And as you come through the trees and are presented with the view of your homestead, it is nightmarish in its difference to normal. Greetings, mortals. Watch out for that first step. It's a doozy. I am Harrison Tarr, and I come to you before we jump into the actual video to update you on a few things that you might have missed if you didn't catch our big news video. This is going to be a departure from the normal content of this channel, in that it is going to be an actual play that I ran for a couple of friends of mine, based on Into the Weird and Wild using the Dungeon World system, and is very spooky. The purpose of this switch in content is to give our main channel editor, Nate, a well-needed and deserved break. If you like this content with me GMing, then you will almost certainly like the Tabletop Sandbox podcast. Season 1 is an 18-episode, or will be, I should say. It's all pre-recorded, but it will be made available to you weekly. It is an actual play Blades in the Dark podcast. You can gain access to the podcast episodes early, as well as exclusive access to Blades After Dark, the after show, on our Patreon. And if you go up to the $6 tier on our Patreon, the normal just podcast stuff is $3, you can also get access to GM resources that I will be releasing every month. Without further ado, let's jump into this spooky actual play for the month of October. Greetings, mortals, and welcome to our extra spooky October actual play series. There it is.
Material.
That's the thumbnail. The inspiration for this was the Into the Weird and Wild book, source book, by Charles Ferguson Avery, which has impeccable vibes, especially for the spooky time of year. And the system of choice that I decided to run it on is Dungeon World, which it is not precisely designed for. It's more suited for kind of OSR and maybe even 5e, but I wanted to use Dungeon World, and that's the one that I was able to make work in my head, because, of course, this is an actual play that we want to make entertaining to you. Should we introduce our characters first?
Yeah, we might as well.
Yeah.
Introduce ourselves. This is our first time on camera.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You do exist in other content.
Yes.
That other content being the Tabletop Sandbox podcast, Canticle of the Crimson Wake, our Blades in the Dark actual play, which isn't quite as spooky as this is going to be, but has some spooky aspects to it. But
that'll
yes.
all be available in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Go there, please. Lots of
I
hard
feel like
work.
I have nothing to say because you guys like immediately are like on it, and I'm just like.
Well, that's how we like it.
Yeah. Rebecca's our agreeable friend who is.
It's just gonna not talk the entire time.
Yeah. Very quiet.
If you guys watch the podcast, you'll see that my character is quite a quiet one as well. But I have a lot of thoughts. I have like 1,000 thoughts when we're playing, and I'm just like, I can't speak them all at once. So then when the after show happens, then I get to say all the stuff. So if you want access to the after show, please go to our Patreon.
There it is.
Hey, there it is.
You just needed your
that
moment.
was not planned, by the way.
None of this is planned.
Nope.
We're all hurtling down a hill on fire all the time. I, of course, am Harrison Tarr. I will be your game master for the evening.
I am Zach. I am going to be playing Bark, the Ranger. He is a wild kind of guy. Wildling race. We're actually both going to be playing the Wildling race, which is homebrew by our good GM Harrison Tarr. But yeah, he's got bark along his arms, hence the name Bark. Very simple. He's got a bird, a goshawk, I should say, named Moss, who likes to perch on his bark-like arms. And that's about it.
I'm sorry, I just have to say, you like introduced yourself and you said, my name's Bark. And I immediately thought dog. And then you said wildling, and I was like, he's got that dog in him. I didn't want to say it.
But it's not that dog, it's that tree. He got that tree in him.
So if you rewind the footage, there's like 5 minutes of me being like,
He got that dog in him. He got that dog in him.
my name's Rebecca. I am playing Perrin, who is the Witch of the Woods. To describe her appearance, she's actually very thin and bony. Her eyes are a little unsettling if you look at them for too long. It's almost like her irises are a little bit too big bigger than like a normal person's irises are. So it's like kind of uncanny to look at her for a long time. And her hair is really tangled and messily braided into one big bunch. Honestly, I don't know if it's a braid or just tangles, but it's a work in progress. And
a single dreadlock.
just
I don't have
one.
dreadlocks, I have dreadlock.
For her clothes, she kind of has like a patchwork of like animal skins, but it's all like it's kind of like dusty and dirty. And so like some parts of it you can clearly see that it's like made out of like kind of like leather, and then other parts is like, oh, that doesn't quite fit, but you still put that on there. So yeah.
For those of you who know Dungeon World and said a Witch of the Woods, that is another piece of homebrew by me, specifically a class called the Woods Witch, or not a class, a playbook. There wasn't quite a class that fit the vibe that I wanted and what Rebecca wanted, and so it's kind of a cross between a cleric and a wizard with a healthy helping of druid thrown in, but it's a charisma based spellcaster. Actually, it might not be available right now, but I'm going to make once I have it polished up and fit for human eyes to view, I will make that available, and it'll be perhaps retroactively in the video description.
Is he not calling us humans?
Yeah, he implied we're not humans here.
I know.
Okay.
Dogs.
Let me bring us down into the spooky mood for the evening. The corpse of a deer lays freshly drying. Blood splattered, flesh torn, and a rat perches atop its head and is eating at its eye. And then in a flash of motion, and feathers and talons, the rat goes tumbling away with a splash of blood. And as it lies on the ground, trying to crawl away, Moss, the goshawk, hops over and pecks at it until it is dead, and then begins ripping the flesh off of this rat. And following, not far behind, we see Bark and Perrin walking through the woods. You have been on a hunt. Let's see how well you did. So what is that? That's roll plus wisdom?
Roll plus wisdom.
Sure, this won't be the full hunt mechanics of Into the Weird and Wild, but let's see how you did on this hunt specifically.
Ooh, would you allow me to work with my animal companion on this hunt to add my goshawk's cunning to the roll?
Absolutely, I would. Go ahead and roll. 2d6 plus 4.
So that's a 3 plus 4.
Total? You add them
sorry,
together.
you add
Yeah.
them. So 6 plus 4, 10. Perfect.
Yes, 10. So that is a complete success. So what animal? Do you have like a deer around your shoulders that you're carrying back?
Likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Tied around like the hooves, and it's just hanging over the back.
Sure. Yeah, so you were successful on your hunt, and you are making your way through the woods, and then you come across this corpse of a deer that was beginning to be scavenged by a rat before Moss had his way. and is really just playing with the rat at this point, having severed some important muscle for locomotion. The rat is feebly attempting to crawl away as Moss hops after it. But you come up to this deer, and you see that it was killed and then, simultaneously mutilated. And to your trained eyes, it does not appear like it was done by an animal. This is not signs of feeding on this kill. It is evidence of crafted weapons. So before you see this deer that was killed and mutilated but not harvested. And looking around nearby, you see that there is a collection of some humanoid tracks, somewhere between 4 and 8 humanoid tracks that are around this area and then moving on. And this mutilation, while completely ignoring the usefulness of these resources here, makes you think that this had to be Ravagers. Now, Ravagers are similar to Wildlings in many ways. There are humanoids who have existed in the wilds long enough that the wilds have started to change them, taking on aspects of wildlife and divorcing themselves from society. But where Wildlings have managed to find kind of a balance, and they take on a little bit of the wilds but maintain their identity, and you kind of have harmony with your surroundings as much as one can have harmony with the wilds. The wilds have twisted the Ravagers so far that they broke. And the deep, wild places that Wildlings dread to go are the places that created Ravagers. And you see that this group of footprints of Ravagers leads away toward your home. What do you do?
Is Pear with me, or is it just me?
Yeah, you were both out on the hunt together.
I'm gonna, as I'm inspecting this body and these tracks, I'm gonna call Pear over to me. And I'll look at you and just say, primates, likely Ravagers, headed towards home.
Perrin will hear that. She'll nod. And then can I? I'm gonna cast my grow horns.
Okay.
And from it seems like the back of her head.
Well, go ahead and roll cast a spell first.
How do I?
So 2d6 plus your charisma modifier.
Oh.
So 4, and what's your charisma?
6.
Oof.
This is 6.
That is a failure.
Oof.
So
Okay.
you get to mark XP, because every time you fail a roll, you mark
Cool.
XP.
Let's go.
Next time you rest, I'm gonna level up. Sick.
I think that the stress of this situation, knowing that something could have or may yet still go wrong, causes you to be a little frantic in your pawing at the Wyrd to draw on its power. And instead of the majestic horns that you wanted, you have these horns that begin to grow, but then instead of curving gracefully back or forward or whichever way you would wish, they curl inward, growing in a tight arc and then back into your head, actually digging into your skull and causing you pain. And so I would like you to roll a d4, please.
Okay.
You just immediately hemorrhage your brain casting a
Sick.
spell.
Oh, that's a 4.
4. So you're gonna take 4 damage.
Oh, jeez.
Since it is magical.
Technically, that does protect you from magical damage, doesn't it? The what is it? Protective talisman? Is that what I called it?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say yeah. You can apply your armor to this because I was
Okay.
thinking it wouldn't.
Okay.
Because they're just
Okay.
growing right into your head. So yeah, you only take what, 2 damage?
2.
Yeah. So you kind of have to, stop the spell because, like, I think there's actually a species of lamb or goat that has this problem where if their horns grow long enough, they'll grow back and start to grow into their own head.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I was drawing on
Yeah.
for this. But yeah, whatever it is, you get kind of crumpled up in the casting of it, and so you end up having to cast the spell. And yeah, I think that you do have these horns that kind of grew around and are growing into the sides of your head just a little bit, but they are not useful as a weapon or as intimidation as the spell intends.
Okay.
So you have failed in that endeavor, unfortunately.
That's fine.
What do you do?
So I think I had turned around and we started walking, and I look back at you, and you're
I'm bleeding.
like,
Yeah, just
ow. But,
I guess we're gonna keep going.
yeah, I think we quietly start following these backs. I think as we're walking away, I'm actively trying to get Moss to fly back to me, but it's too distracted on eating the
just
little
hopping
rat.
after the rat,
Yeah.
and poking at it and pecking at it, and
Yeah. Come on.
and then it tries to drag the rat along with you.
Yeah.
And then it takes, and then you're just like, all right, fine, and then
Yeah.
you walk away, and then a few minutes later,
Yeah.
Moss will show up and kind of alights on your shoulder. And it's lucky that you have that bark, because I feel like Moss is the type of bird that doesn't really care if you get hurt by landing on you. So
No.
it's just kind of
No.
like, if they ever land on your leg or on your head, it's like it hurts a lot. The
Yes,
talons
yeah.
dig into you, but you've trained it pretty well to land on your arm.
But he also helps keep the termites out of my bark skin. So
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
thank you, Moss.
We love moss out here. As you begin to approach the homestead, you can't quite see it yet, but only because there are trees in the way. How do you approach?
I think we just quietly sneak up, keeping a distance because there were Ravager prints headed towards the
And
house,
you see they're not.
and
The prince do lead through the trees to your house.
ooh, could I send Moss ahead
To scout.
to scout?
Yeah. Moss takes off through the trees, kind of flapping, and then just wings tucking to fit through, closely, close together branches and things like that. And as you're approaching and just coming to the edge of kind of the woods and the small clearing around your homestead, Moss kind of comes back through the trees and alights on your arm and kind of walks up and down, and you can tell that they are nervous and kind of anxious and upset. And you see that on their talons, they're kind of tracking back and forth on your arm, fresh blood.
Bad news. We should be careful. Do you have... He kind of just looks concerningly at you. Do you have anything that can keep us quiet or hidden or anything? There's not a pass without a trace kind of spell or anything.
No, not that she has prepared, because she prepared for us to go hunting, kind of thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Then we'll move quietly and keep a distance.
Sure.
And always looking up too,
Okay.
because things hide in the trees.
Yes, they do. Go ahead, and why don't both of you roll Defy Danger using Dexterity?
can I argue for charisma?
No. Being quiet as you move is definitely dexterity.
Fine. We rolled 2
But
dice,
I look
right?
good when
Yep,
I'm-
you always roll 2 dice and add them together,
All right.
plus any relevant modifiers. Snake eyes.
I'm rolling shit. I'm rolling some shit.
It's a 9
I
for
need
me.
new dice.
You kind of walk into the clearing around your homestead, where the two of you have been living for several years now, along with grandfather and your girl Sapling. And as you come through the trees and are presented with the view of your homestead, it is nightmarish in its difference to normal. You see windows broken, the door cracked and hanging from its hinges, and there is blood splashed even outside of the house. You see that there is a humanoid figure face down, kind of just outside the front door. Its back torn and bloody, and it is kind of has its hands in it, is just crawling. And as you exit, Perrin steps on a branch or a dead leaf, and then this figure just kind of looks up, and you see that it is a Ravager, a creature with 2 mismatched sets of antlers. Well, not 2 sets, but a set of mismatched antlers growing from its head, and patches of matted fur growing occasionally on its skin. And you see that it has kind of dragged a blood trail out of the house and into the middle of this small clearing outside your home. What do you do? You can see that there seems to be more carnage within the home.
And so it sees us at this point, right?
Yeah. It doesn't say anything, but it looks up, and it is incapacitated and likely on its way beyond the Black Gates, but it is still alive.
Then I think Bark is gonna put him down before he can like yell or make a noise.
Okay.
With his bow, so kind of like she makes a crack,
Makes a noise.
He
this
looks up,
figure looks
and then
up
Bark's
at you.
like
Yeah.
Bark's like shit, and
Uh-huh.
draws an arrow and puts him down, realizing that it's a foreigner on home turf, and putting pieces together that they probably did horrible things to the family. So before it yells out.
Yeah, this is a helpless being, and so you just quickly, it kind of looks up and just kind of gives a single laugh, and then before your arrow just goes right through the eye and drops this thing. Head goes limp.
So we look around. Do we see any other Ravagers?
You do not see
this area?
any other bodies or walking living creatures in this area besides maybe birds and bugs.
Okay.
Do we see any tracks leaving the house?
You do. You see what looks like 2 sets of tracks leading away, kind of in the direction of the deeper wilds. But to know more, you would have to kind of investigate that.
Bark's first instinct is going to be to run up to the house. So he's going to go up to one of the windows, knowing that his daughter is in danger.
You immediately are hit with the sharp scent of blood, and there is a lot of blood. Looking into the house, you see that all of the floor and most of the walls are splattered in blood, and there are very few intact bodies, but many body parts scattered around this room. The ones that are closest to you that you can really identify do not belong to Sapling or grandfather, but rather to Ravagers.
Okay. And while I'm doing that, What do you think Pear's doing?
She sees you run up to the front door, so she's gonna round around the back to see if there's anyone left or if there's any other signs of anyone else leaving, because so far we only see 2 tracks.
Yeah. You circle the house. Yeah, and you notice no other tracks leaving the house. You just see a big group of Ravager tracks from where you came from on the hunt, leading toward the house, and then those 2 sets of tracks leaving, which you have yet to investigate further.
Then with that, she's gonna enter the house through the back door, and in one hand she has her hand in her pocket, holding on to something in her pocket, and she's gonna slowly inch her way in.
And so you guys come in through both sides of the house, and looking around this room, you see the body parts of many Ravagers scattered around, and you see the kind of torso of one of them, the most intact body, has grandfather's axe buried in its skull and is like leaning up against the wall. And then as you make your way through this house, you do find kind of in the back corner grandfather, who has been taken apart. You see he's missing most of one arm and both legs, and just the fury of whatever did this is potent here. You see, all like this is something more than just Ravagers mutilating, especially because the Ravagers are the ones who are torn apart. Grandfather is a tough old stump, but he didn't do this. He just doesn't have. I mean, humans and even wildlings don't usually have the capacity for something like this, especially because, as far as you can tell, there's half a dozen or more wildlings who have been killed and dismembered within this house. But yeah, your entire home is soaked in blood and rich with the scent of death.
So, upon immediately seeing Grandpa, I think there's a lot of emotion and thoughts going through Bark's head, because he practically idolized Grandfather, being that firstborn son of Grandfather's firstborn son, and idolizing him growing up. This is devastating to Bark, but also seeing how his own daughter isn't here. Mm-hmm. He's maintaining his strength as much as possible. And he's realizing that like this is unnatural. This mm-hmm. is an unnatural scene. Can he try to analyze the wounds and the slashes or cuts or whatever they are, to see if he can tell if it's like tools that did this, if these were some kind of claw, if these were
this sounds like a spout lore to me. So yeah. Why don't you roll plus intelligence?
Roll plus int. Oof. That's a 9.
A 9.
So it's 5 plus 4 plus 0.
Okay. On a 7 to 9, the GM will only tell you something interesting. It's on you to make it useful. You see that there appear to be... It is some kind of sharp tool that has been used. Whether that be a natural tool like claws or something like a sword, you're unable to determine specifically. Mm-hmm. But also whatever was doing this had immense strength, because some of the dismembering was not done by laceration, but by sheer brute force. Like there are limbs that were torn from bodies. And so whatever was here was moving with incredible speed and strength as it was tearing people apart.
Okay.
While you're probably looking around the room, she's gonna lean down to Grandpa, and I don't think she's realized it in the moment, but he's like not alive.
No.
And she's like shaking him. She's just like.
And then like as you move him, you notice like that he's missing his legs and his arm, and like he's not all there. Both, his soul is gone, but also now his body is incomplete.
She's gonna still keep shaking him, cause she's just like in disbelief that he's dead, kind of thing. Cause from where Perrin comes from, I feel like Grandpa was like the only person who wanted to take her in, cause she's so changed by the wilds that he's kind of like her only family. Like, don't get me wrong, we live with each other, but it was kind of like I was like, Grandpa to me was like my dad.
Yeah.
And so like she's just sitting there like shaking him, and then when she reaches for his arm, she realizes that it's not there.
Yeah.
And then she tries to shake his shoulder, but he's not waking up.
Yeah. And it is kind of surreal, even for somebody who has a rational grasp on the situation, but knew Grandfather, because Grandfather was not just a tough old stump. Like, he was old, which is a feat in and of itself. But not only was he old, he wasn't a venerable, achy old man who tottered around the house. Like, he still seemed strong as an ox. Like, he would be splitting wood every day, and you take care of the hunting because you have a knack for it, and you are better at archery than Grandfather ever was. But there was never a hint of him weakening. The only sign of his age was the weathering that the world had done to him. And so that's why it's even more kind of incomprehensible that he would just go out like this.
I think Bark walks up to you and kind of puts his hand on your shoulder as he walks up and looks down and kind of mourns with you for a moment and says that we should give him back to where he came from, and kind of implying that we should take what remains of Grandpa into the woods to become one with nature again.
Okay.
Well, yeah. What does that burial look like? I mean, is it a burial? Is it a cremation? Is it a pyre you build, or do you use your kind of mushroom spores to hurry his decomposition?
Yeah, I think with your help, we'll probably get him to the very edge of the wilds, near one of like the stones that like lead us back to the house that are like a landmark for us.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but thinking like intentionally like into the wilds, not not like
so
just the normal
that actually
forests.
might be a trek. So right now what we might be doing is just like kind of packing his body up and slinging it over a shoulder.
Yeah,
because that's a while, and also there's no sign of sapling in here.
Right.
So
then yeah, we can do that. We can carry his body with us.
Before you do that, would you like to clean the deer that you killed?
I was about to ask, would you like to clean Grandpa?
Yeah. I mean, that is something
Can I
that
try to harvest
you
Grandpa?
could technically do. However, I wasn't going that direction.
Grandpa?
Why don't you go ahead and roll plus
Beast
Dex
Cleaner.
to harvest, using Beast Cleaner, which is a translation of the rules for Clean a Body from Into the Weird and Wild, but as a move for Dungeon World for the Ranger.
So I think I'll kind of leave you to like preparing Grandpa's body for transport, to be carried with us, and I'm gonna try to get us rations to get on the road. Dex is 1. Not good. 6.
6. Okay, so you managed to salvage 1d6 common goods. So roll 1d6.
2.
2. So this is fats and meat. Each one may be converted into a single supply, or the characters may have a feast and eat all of the common goods to relieve 1 point of exhaustion. So you can just mark down 2 rations.
2 rations.
So rations and supplies are kind of the same thing. I'm combining the terminology from the 2 books. Would either of you like to kind of take a look at the 2 pairs of tracks leading away from the home?
Yes. But also, since this is around the house, I have a bunch of gardens. Gardens.
Yeah.
So, can I talk with some mushrooms?
Yeah, sure, you can.
I
You
want-
do that while
Yeah.
I go and look at the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Just asking the mushrooms, like, hey, did you guys see some stuff?
7. That's a 7.
7.
Okay,
That's a 7.
okay.
That
there we
is
go, there
a
we go.
success with a consequence. Because you rolled a 7, you only get to ask 1 question instead of 3.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, so what question do you ask the mushrooms?
Who passed by? Or into the forest?
Okay. Should I do mushroom voice? I feel like I should do mushroom voice.
Yeah, I wanted a mushroom voice scene.
Okay.
Well, there are 2 of them. One was a 2 legs like you, and the other one was scary. It was a hunter, a beast, a fang and claw. They went quickly.
Thank you. And then I think what she's gonna do is, from the scraps of the deer, is gonna chuck some of the excess on that specific garden.
Mm-hmm.
Cause
Oh, yum. Oh, yum.
so she left alive.
Good. And then can we? I wanted to see the tracks to see if I could find her tracks.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll plus wisdom, because you are beginning to hunt a quarry through the wilds.
Oh, good. That's 12.
Nice. Yeah, that is a complete success.
One of us needs to be making our rolls.
I know.
You gain 2 marks toward reaching your quarry and gain a boon. Roll a d8 for what boon you get. And this is going to be you identifying the tracks and moving deeper as you begin this kind of trek after the 2 creatures.
I think we do like calls to each other. You know, like he makes a bird call or whatever out to you to like get your attention, and that's kind of how like we would communicate in the woods if we're ever separated.
Yeah,
And
that's
fun.
cool.
And so he's gonna make like a
What animal call were you thinking of, Rebecca?
No, I was thinking about how I was talking about how he got that dog in him earlier.
Yeah. That's just the animal call, domesticated dog.
I can make a sick pterodactyl sound.
do it.
Yeah, that's the animal.
It might cut out the mic though.
We'll cut it out if it's too bad. That's pretty
Very
good.
good. That is very good.
It's pretty sick.
Rah.
Rawr.
Rah.
This is all getting cut.
Yeah. Easy. All right. The D8. That's a 3.
The boon for 3 is the trail revealed. Your quarry fails to cover their tracks. Gain an extra mark.
Ooh, that's good.
That is good. I'm deciding that to track your quarry is going to be 12 marks total.
Okay.
So
that's
you are
3.
a quarter of the way there.
That's good.
Also, in process of that, you begin to follow these tracks, and you see one set of tracks is humanoid. Though, strangely, you're like, these footprints seem a little bit too big to be saplings, but maybe that's just because she was running, or the ground is soft or something like that. And the other set of footprints is something bestial, running on all fours. You're not quite sure what it is, but it is absolutely the kind of pawed foot of a predator. But these are very kind of long, like long claws and narrow but powerful feet, as it just, is tearing into the forest.
Is it like 4 or 5 claw marks? Would it be like 4 with like the 5th claw mark?
Yeah, it would be
here?
it'd be 4 claws with the thing. Yeah, again, you might guess canine, but this is not something you've seen before.
Okay.
It is wrong for all of the potential options that pop into your head.
Sure. But just trying to narrow down as much as possible.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that Perrin would like to do before you begin kind of on this journey to track down the people, the creatures?
I'm feeding my gardens and talking to my mushrooms. They're just telling me about their day.
Cool. Just checking in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I asked like all of them, like who passed through, like what happened.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm hungry. It's like, okay.
It happened fast. There's a lot of screaming, and then just, I didn't see anything. They just moved so fast.
Can I have my food now?
Yeah.
You got any that good stuff that you had last week?
No. And then she scoops some more of the scraps from the deer.
Oh, that'll do. I guess it's okay. Thanks, Mom.